and welcome to the Easily Excitable podcast. My name is Topham, and this week I'm alone, and I'm going to be talking about the G3 concert that my dad and I went to a few weeks ago. So G3 is a project that Joe Satriani put together years ago, where he takes two other guitarists on tour with him, and they play guitar individually first, and then as some improvisational medleys at the end of the show. The version of the tour I saw had Uli John Roth from Scorpions. He's a neoclassical style shredder. Then John Petrucci, and then Joe Satriani, and they all came together at the end to perform some songs. I didn't know much about Uli John Roth going in. And I don't feel like I learned that much other than his music isn't really for me. Yes, great, he can shred and sweep, but it all felt far more technical and robotic than it did authentic and enjoyable to listen to. And the levels were all over the place, and it didn't sound particularly great. There was Uli John Roth and two other guitarists and the rest of the full band, which just contributed to the sound being overwhelming, and just slightly too loud, and a lot of the definition of notes got lost. When you're seeing someone that's supposed to be shredding and putting out a good guitar tone, it being too loud and you losing any definition of notes kind of detracts from the whole experience. So I didn't think much of the Uli John Roth set. Next up, though, was John Petrucci, who played with, I think, Dave LaRue and who's on drums? It's the drummer from Dream Theater at the moment, whose name I can't remember at all. Mike Mangini. There we go. And I don't know. Petrucci and Mangini's chemistry is great, and Dave LaRue is a fantastic bass player. I think you should have already heard my thoughts and feelings on Dream Theater. And Petrucci's music is somewhat an extension of that, a lot more shreddy and guitar based, but still conveys some sort of story and cohesion to it. The fact that there were only three of them making as much noise as they could meant that there was a lot more space in the sound for the instruments to actually cut through, which I enjoyed massively. I much preferred how that set sounded as opposed to the other, the Uli John Roth set. Petrucci played some of the classics that he knows everyone enjoys, such as Damage Control and Glasgow Kiss. And yeah, like he said before, Damage Control he finds probably the most difficult song of his to play, which is excellently still trying to play it. And yeah, I really enjoyed his set. I really liked seeing some fast-paced technical guitar work that's actually shreddy and interesting and has somewhat of a meaning behind it. Next up was Joe Satriani, who came out with his silver guitar, his specs on, and yeah, he had just a fantastic set. It was a really cool experience to see him play. I never thought I wanted to see him play, really. I was just like, yeah, let's go along, have a look, see what it's like. I think we found out on the Thursday before the gig was on the Monday that we were going. So it was an interesting experience. And yeah, we went and saw Satriani. He played a bunch of songs. The one I really know is Satch Boogie. And apart from that, I don't really know any of his other music. All in all, it was a good set. It was enjoyable. His keyboard guitarist person has a guitar that I'm currently trying to track down somewhere I can try it out. And so, yeah, I'm really fascinated with the guitars. And yeah, didn't sound too muddy. He sounded nice and clear, and all was understandable. And yeah, it was altogether a good show from Satriani and his band. then there was the medley. They did 3 songs. I'm sure they did a Deep Purple song. I can't remember what it was. They did Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin, and they did, I think, Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix. And they did those covers, and it was a really enjoyable time. They had 3 guitarists on stage, Uli John Roth, Satriani, and Petrucci. And they also brought out some of the guys that were playing for Uli John Roth, and Satriani's band stayed on stage. And so they switched the guitars over to the guitarists that played with Uli John Roth at the beginning. And all in all, it was it sounded alright. Which means that, the Uli John Roth set probably could have sounded better. But, oh well. The jams were cool. There was some cool guitar going on. But there's not much else to say other than that. I'm glad I've experienced a G3 concert, but I don't really need to go again to see any more. And certainly had my fill of Shred for the time being. All in all, good show. I'd recommend it if you've never been to one of those and you're interested in guitar, but aside from that, probably not worth going. I like gigs where there's people who have vocals and they're singing and you can sing along with it and have a good time. So, I've definitely learnt that. So, thank you everyone for listening. My name is Topham or Ethfar or Destroy Topham, depending on where you're looking. And this is the Easily Excitable podcast. You can find me on Twitter at Ethfar or at Destroy Topham or at Easily Excitable for this podcast. And there's YouTube channel, Easily Excitable Podcast, and that's about it. Thank you everyone for listening. Have an exciting week. Goodbye!